Hi, Reverend Paula Zabkar here with this week's Soul Session. What if the whole purpose of life was to grow and change? That may sound a little odd to say because that's what we do constantly, but what if our purpose was to evolve at a deeper level, to really understand what life is about? And instead of thinking, well, it's about a career, it's about starting a family, getting a job, making things happen in this life, but there's this underlying thing, this underlying growth and change that I think what life is all about, like to grow in the understanding about the way life works. And not just that, but our connection to the whole of life. Like that's why we're here. That's why we're here, for that to evolve in us and as us. And to do this, I think we need to have a wider view of life. Now, this wider view of life sometimes is really hard to have, and sometimes impossible actually, when we're in a lot of physical pain or emotional pain. Some days, sometimes when we're in that place, it feels like a miracle just to get through the day, doesn't it? When we're in that place. Because clarity doesn't come from those places when we're in pain. Clarity comes in these flashes, in these instances when we finally can connect our head and our heart together and find some peace. But those of us who have precious time to consider, I think need to be the ones to have this wider view of life, to consider. To those who have to worry about putting a meal on their plate or trying to get out of a country that is brutalizing them or in tyranny. Those people, they have precious little time to consider. But those of us who do, I think, need to take a wider view of life. And we need to recognize that by doing that, we can contribute to the health of the whole. Having a wider view is a practice. It's taking off our blinders, taking off our narrow view, and widening it up, seeing more than just when we think we're right. It's a practice, and it's much easier to keep this narrow view, by the way. It doesn't take much practice, and it doesn't take much to maintain it. When we're fixed in that straight line, when we know we're right, when we know ours is the only way, and when we know it works for us, when it works for me, what's best for me. Well, listen, it's not a bad thing to have a life that works for you. Sometimes it's just short-sighted and incomplete. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's not bad to have a good life, to make decisions that work for you, but sometimes, I'll repeat, it is short-sighted and incomplete. You see, we don't exist independently of each other. If there's one thing this pandemic has taught us, if we've been aware, is that we're all interconnected. On a planetary level, we are. We are all interconnected. It's brought that more into focus. There is no one who is existing independently of another. And when the whole is healthy and vibrant, we can lift up those who are suffering. We can lift up those who are in need. But when the whole is weak and the whole is rotting from the inside, it doesn't take much for the whole to come crashing down. So if you really want to grow and change, if you really want to learn more about what life really is about beyond the physical, we need to widen our view. We need to take it all in. We need to take in the things we like and the things we don't like. We need to take in those we agree with and those we disagree with. To take that in, we need to take in the sad moments and the joyful moments. We need to be in the uncertainty and be okay with that, and be in the doubt, and invite it all in. Invite it all in with that wider view of the way things look. And let that remind you. Let that remind us of the connection we have to all that is. Let it change us. Let it lift us. Let it enliven us. Let it bring us peace. Let it teach me about what life really is beyond the physical, that deep spiritual essence that we are, the connection that we have with each other, not only as a human race, but as a spiritual essence that lives us and breathes us and sustains us. Let it teach us compassion. Let it teach us how to love more fully both ourselves and every human. Let it teach us. So I invite you those of us who have precious time to consider, to widen our view and lift the world. Have a good week. Amen.